Hi, I'm the Rap Critic, and this was a request by Gabriel Nichols. And if you'd like to request a song or album for me to review, go to my Patreon for more info. Now, I know I give a lot of grief to Kanye, but it's because it always feels like he lets the genius of his musical achievements and abilities get in the way of any form of real self-criticism. And that sucks because sometimes the messages he puts in his music gets undercut by the corniness of the lyrics or the eye-rollingly obnoxious level of egocentrism, especially when it sometimes feels a little unjustified.
Step back, can't get spunked on a mink. I mean, damn, what would Jerome think?
I mean, a lyric about not jizzing on an expensive coat because a fictional TV character would disapprove? I'm supposed to hear this on an album about calling yourself God? Well, forgive me, but I'm not buying it. But there was a time when I was first exposed to Kanye and absolutely loved his music. It was when I was up late watching music videos and came across the video for Jesus Walks. The very first time I heard a rapper unabashedly in a mainstream song talking about God. And you have to remember, I'm not even in high school at this point, so all this religion stuff is pretty new to my ears. And yet, when I'm in church, all the Bible and Christianity ever felt like was some boring slog that you had to deal with if you wanted to be saved. But this song was the first time following Jesus not only seemed cool, but like something that you did because you truly wanted to, not just because it was arbitrary. Now, Kanye isn't the first person to use religious messages in his raps. I mean, hip-hop's relationship with religion has always been there, but at best it's been a tangential affair. I mean, of course, there's always the Wu-Tang Clan and the 5%ers, and, you know, plenty of artists use it for, like, larger-than-life, over-the-top cool imagery and whatnot, but other than, like, DMX, who literally put prayers on every one of his albums, very few mainstream acts directly reference their religion, especially as one of your singles. Even today, arguably the biggest song from a Christian rapper from the past year doesn't even mention God. But according to interviews, friends and industry insiders were constantly telling him this single was a bad idea. They basically told him it'll never make it to radio. It was kind of like the word Jesus was like saying the N-word. And to my surprise, even the religious crowd didn't like it that much, saying that because it mixes the names of Jesus and God with swear words, that was enough for them to turn a blind ear. What's funny to me is that as a young Christian, this is one of the first songs that got me actually taking my religion seriously, which is definitely more than any contemporary Christian artist ever did. And from interviews at the time, Kanye was aware of that. He said, "This song is not for the church-going crowd. It's speaking to the people that I think God is really trying to reach." And that sentiment is shown down to the very fabric of the music. By which I mean, the sample that this song comes from is a song called Walk With Me by a group called the Ark Choir, which is short for the Addicts Rehabilitation Center. As in, this group that Kanye samples started as a former drug addict who cleaned himself up with the help of music and wanted to help others do the same. So the fact that the first verse is about a drug dealer trying to change his ways is a direct callback to the intended point of the original sampled song. Not to just pat the backs of people who are already presumably saved, but to help those that are still going through that self-destructive struggle.
A trunk full of coke, rental car from Avis. My mama used to say only Jesus could save us.
And I especially like the ending of the chorus.
And I don't think there's nothing I can do now to right my wrongs. I want to talk to God, but I'm afraid cause we ain't spoken so long.
And how he remixes and twists the meanings of words. Because the "so long" at the end of the phrase "we ain't spoken so long" originally at the end of that sentence is used as a reference to how he hasn't spoken to God in a long time. But then he transforms "so long" into a sung phrase, by itself divorced from the rest of the sentence, which transforms its meaning from a length of time into a version of saying goodbye. But whether he's saying so long to the life of redemption, or whether he's saying so long to the life of crime, is yet to be seen.
You know what the Midwest is? Young and restless, or restless, might snatch your necklace.
Although I have to admit, the beginning of this verse was always kind of odd to me.
The next is, might jack your Lexus. Somebody tell you who Kanye West is.
Why does he keep saying it like that? Okay, so I looked it up, and this is apparently a sample of a Curtis Mayfield track. You remember Curtis Mayfield, right? Dude who did all those chilled-out blaxploitation movie soundtracks that were like funky but really low-key.
Niggas! Whiteys! Jews!
Well, that is more abrasive than I was expecting. Also, the sampled song is called "If There's a Hell Below, We're All Gonna Go." Do the samples in Kanye West songs always have a secret message like this? Think about it. I mean, Through the Wire samples Through the Fire, and Stronger samples a song called Stronger. Okay, I think the trail's gone cold here.
To the hustlers, killers, murderers, drug dealers, even the scribblers. Jesus was there.
But anyways, I love the lyrics like this, because they remind us exactly why he's making this song, as an ode to Jesus Christ. a man who hung out with sinners and prostitutes and gamblers. I feel like we have the sanitized version of Jesus who never left the synagogue, but that's not even remotely true. He wanted us to reach out to the places where the quote-unquote good people aren't supposed to go, because those are the people who need God's word, not some goody two-shoes who's oh so sure that he's going to heaven and therefore looks down their nose at everyone else. So who's with me? Who wants to go to a strip club? But, like, for Jesus.
Cause we're the almost nearly extinct. We rappers as role models, we rap, we don't think.
I find this line particularly hard to listen to from him, since it's such a strangely sober assessment of what it means to be an adult. It's the admission that comes with the fact that you are setting an example for what should be accepted in society, and that many rappers squander that chance for the sake of hedonistic pleasures before considering how what they're doing is directly influencing the culture by normalizing toxic behaviors. See, this is the type of stuff that I love from Kanye.
I'm just trying to say the way school need teachers, the way Catholic needed Regis, that's the way I need Jesus.
Wow. Well, this line aged like a banana. You know how it's basically an open secret that Kanye has ghostwriters and that this song was actually mostly written and conceived by his friend Rhymefest? Well, it's always been commonly agreed upon that Kanye definitely wrote this line. You're really comparing your need of salvation to a talk show host who replaced their co-host with another talk show host? And that happened in 2001, and this song came out like 3 years afterwards, so there's no way you didn't know about that. He even performed on the Regis and Kelly show, but didn't change the lyric. Kanye must have really liked the chemistry between those two, I guess. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Does anyone even remember this show? Hell, I didn't even realize it was still on, but they completely replaced the cast twice, because talk shows aren't exactly about personality or any engaging, meaningful material, which is what makes it really weird that you thought that scenario was the proper metaphor for a personal connection with a higher power. But let's move on.
So here go my single, dog. Radio needs this. They say you can rap about anything except for Jesus. But if I talk about God, my record won't get played.
Now, I know I'm mainly a rap critic, but I want to talk about the video for a second. I honestly feel like this might be the most powerful scene in a music video I ever saw in my formative years. The symbolism of it was just so poignant. So as the video goes on, you realize the dude cutting down a tree is making a cross. And you think, oh, okay, the song's called Jesus Walks, so of course it's going to be someone making a cross in the video. But then he puts on a white hood, and you quickly realize that this cross is not going to be used in a not racist way. And true to the KKK's form, he sets the cross on fire as a dark metaphor for American whites literally perverting a religious symbol in order to terrorize black people into submission. But then a gust of wind knocks the cross over, causing it to tumble down the mountain. The Klansman attempts at terrorizing black people foiled, he rushes to pick up the burning cross to throw it in the water. And of course, the fact that he literally has to burn for his ignorance causes him to see the error of his ways. But instead of jumping in the water himself, he sits by the pond, accepting the fate of his immolation, until a freak rainstorm extinguishes the fire as he sings along to the chorus. It came across as an example of even how the worst of us, freaking Klansmen, if they repent, can be forgiven. Usually you have to buy a movie ticket to see something that epic. Now the reason why I see that specific message in this scene is because overall this song is about forgiveness, about understanding that you can change for the better, and that it's possible if only you recognize the power within you to do so.
Well, if this take away from my spins, which will probably take away from my ends, then I hope it take away from my sins.
And then of course he talks about how, by doing this, he could very well have ruined his career. However, Kanye felt that putting out a non-conventional single like this was worth it. You know, growing up, a phrase that I always heard was, the only sin that can't be forgiven is believing that you can't be forgiven. That stuck with me more than anything else. It was a reminder that we set our own limitations, and that it's never too late to turn back and do the right thing. Never. Even for someone as disgusting as a KKK member, which to me as a young black boy who saw those types of people as irredeemable monsters, even for me, this video reminded me that they are human and can be reformed too, if they choose. And although I'm someone whose belief in forgiveness is based on that faith, I do believe it's important that for everyone, we should all know that we can all be forgiven and that we can all change. But only when we truly understand that we undoubtedly have the power to do so. But overall, this is one of those rare 6 out of 5 songs, man. This is a certified classic. Call me biased, but I think the time and thought put into something so ambitious deserves its praise.
The way Catholic needed Regis.
Yes, even despite a line like that. And if you haven't heard it yet, College Dropout is also a classic album that deserves your attention. And because I know you're going to ask it, my feelings about the current Kanye can be heard on this week's Going Off podcast. Oh, but don't forget to check out my Rap Critic merch on Redbubble, and go to my Patreon if you want to see future episodes early. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.